The hungriest, most dangerous people who ever lived worked about 4 hours a day, and not one of them had ever felt bored in their life. Sit with that. The people we picture as desperate, always one bad night from starving, spent less time chasing their next meal than you spend at a desk before lunch. There's a group in Tanzania called the Hadza, hunter-gatherers who still live much the way our ancestors did, and researchers have followed them for decades with stopwatches and notebooks. The number keeps coming back the same: 4, maybe 5 hours of real work. The rest of the day was theirs. And here's what should stop you cold. In all those years of watching, nobody found the one thing you feel every single day: boredom. It simply wasn't there. So by the end of this, you're going to understand something strange about your own mind. That boredom isn't ancient at all. It's not some deep human curse we've always carried. It's a modern invention. It's barely older than the machine in your pocket. And right now, you're living inside it. Let's start with the part that makes no sense. They had more free time than you do. More empty hours, more open afternoons, fewer obligations stacked on a calendar. If leisure were the thing that breeds boredom, if being unoccupied were the problem, they should have been the most restless people on earth. They weren't. So where did the boredom go? If all that free time didn't create it, what does? Think about your own day for a second. You get 10 empty minutes, a line at the store, a wait for a friend, and almost before you've noticed the gap, your hand is moving. The phone comes out. Not because you decided anything, your body just did it, the way you'd pull your hand off a hot stove. 10 quiet minutes has become something you flinch away from. 40,000 years ago, an empty afternoon was just life. Nobody flinched. A woman sitting outside a shelter with nothing pressing to do wasn't fighting an itch to escape the moment. The moment was fine. The moment was where she lived. But don't mistake that calm for softness. Their free time was never truly safe, and that's the first key to all of this. Picture it honestly. The fire is the center of everything, and a fire left alone starts to die. Let it drop too low on a cold night, and the cold comes in. Real cold, the kind that pulls the heat out of a body until the hands stop working and the thinking goes slow and foolish. That's hypothermia, and it kills quietly. So the fire had to be watched, fed, kept, and beyond the light there was the tree line, where a predator could be standing in the dark, patient, reading you the way you'd read a book, a hyena, a big cat, something that had all night. And there was the smallest danger of all, the one that took the most people, a cut on the shin from a sharp rock. Nothing at first, but by morning the skin around it is hot and red, and by the next night there's fever, and there are no antibiotics anywhere on the planet, and a healthy adult can be gone inside a week from a wound you'd cover with a bandage and forget. So their attention was never entertainment. It was the thin line between waking up and not, a mind that drifted, that checked out, that went blank at the wrong moment. That mind got someone killed. Being present wasn't a wellness practice. It was survival, worn smooth by 100,000 years of everyone who couldn't do it not living long enough to have children. Now here's where it turns. You'd think all that danger would make their lives feel like grinding, exhausting work. It didn't. And the reason changes everything. Their tasks were the kind that hold you completely. Digging tubers out of hard ground, feeling through the soil for the good ones, tracking a wounded animal across half a day, kneeling to read a bent blade of grass, a scuff in the dust, a single drop of blood gone brown, building the animal's whole story out of scraps the way a detective builds a case, twisting plant fiber into cord, watching the sky and knowing, from the shape of the clouds and the smell of the air, that rain was 3 hours out and the shelter needed work now. Notice what all of that has in common. The hands are busy, but not strained. The mind is lightly held, occupied, present, but never crushed and never emptied out. There was almost no moment in their day when a person sat with nothing at all in front of the eyes and nothing at all in the hands. The blank stare into nothing, the exact posture of boredom, barely existed for them. So science kept circling one question. If their brains were always gently engaged, but almost never overloaded, then what exactly is this thing we feel that they never did? What is boredom actually made of? Hold that. Because first, look at what all that steady attention built. Attention with nowhere urgent to go doesn't sit still. It invents. And what those unhurried hours produced still runs your whole world. They rolled plant fiber into cordage, and suddenly you could lash a sharp stone to a handle and swing an axe, or knot a net that fed an entire camp. They ground bone into needles fine enough to thread. And a needle means fitted clothing, sewn tight against the cold, which means a body could walk into frozen places that would have killed it bare. Whole continents opened up because someone, in their calm, empty hours, figured out how to sew. That's not a small thing. That's the map of the human race, drawn by people who were never in a hurry. But the tools aren't even the deepest answer. This is. Those empty hours didn't stay empty. They filled themselves with something we still don't have a hard word for. Deep in a cave in France called Lascaux, they lifted torches to the walls and painted. Great herds of bulls and horses and deer moving across the stone, made about 17,000 years ago by people who crawled into the dark on purpose to do it. In a place called Dolní Věstonice, in what's now the Czech Republic, someone shaped a small human figure and baked it hard in fire. One of the oldest fired clay objects we've ever found, made around 29,000 years ago. Not a tool, not a weapon. A thing made because a mind at rest wanted to make it. And every night, around every fire, the oldest technology of all, stories, songs. The day turned into something you could tell. A mind left alone with itself, unhurried and unafraid, doesn't go blank. It turns inward and it makes. So now we can finally name the thing. Boredom isn't the absence of activity. That's the mistake we all make. Boredom is the absence of meaning, but only after your brain has been trained to expect a fresh hit of novelty every few seconds. It's a hunger, and it's a hunger somebody taught you to feel. The Hadza never felt it because nothing in their world ever overfed their attention in the first place. Their novelty came slowly. A good hunt, a change in season, a visitor from far off. Rare enough that when it came, it still felt like a gift. That's the whole answer to why they were never bored. They were never bored because they never had to be entertained. Presence was the default setting of a human life, not a thing you had to fight for. And newness was scarce enough to stay precious. We flipped it. We made novelty endless and free, a river of it, a new thing every time the thumb moves. And a brain fed like that stops being able to sit in a plain, quiet, ordinary moment, the exact moment your ancestors lived inside their whole lives. Here's the part that should follow you out of this video. That same instinct, the one that once scanned the dark tree line for the shape of a predator, that couldn't look away because looking away meant dying. That instinct is still in you, fully intact. It never left. It just has nothing left to guard. So now it scans a feed instead of the dark. The same ancient hunger for the next important thing, aimed at nothing. So try something tonight. Sit with 10 empty minutes and no screen. Nothing in your hands, just the room and your own mind, the way theirs sat by the fire. And be honest about what rises up in you, because that feeling isn't yours. Somebody built it. Somebody profits every time you flinch away from a quiet minute. So tell me down below, when the screen goes dark tonight, do you feel peace? Or do you feel the withdrawal?